The breaking point. The coffee had gone cold in Sienna Hart's hands as she stared at the positive pregnancy test hidden beneath a stack of papers on her desk. The elegant home office felt suffocating, despite its floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Outside, autumn leaves swirled in the October wind, nature's reminder that everything eventually fell away. She pressed a hand to her flat stomach, her mind racing through calculations. 6 weeks. She had been pregnant for 6 weeks while her marriage disintegrated around her. The irony was not lost on her that she carried new life while watching everything else die. The front door slammed, announcing Harrison Vale's arrival home from another late night at Vale Industries. His footsteps echoed through the minimalist hallway, quick and purposeful as always. Everything Harrison did was efficient, calculated, optimized for maximum output. Including, apparently, ending their marriage. "Sienna," Harrison called from the foyer. "We need to talk. Come to the living room." She tucked the pregnancy test deeper into her desk drawer, beneath old tax documents and forgotten birthday cards. Later. She would process this later. Right now, she needed to face whatever Harrison had decided about their future. He stood by the marble fireplace when she entered, still wearing his suit, his phone in one hand. At 34, Harrison Vale was everything the business world admired. Sharp. Decisive. Ruthless when necessary. He had built his tech company from a garage startup to a billion-dollar enterprise in just 8 years. Their marriage had lasted 6 of those years. Sienna sometimes wondered if she had simply been another asset to acquire, another stepping stone on his path to success. "I have been thinking about our conversation last week," Harrison began, not looking at her. "About where we stand." Sienna sat on the cream sofa, her hands folded in her lap. She had learned long ago to maintain composure during Harrison's business-like discussions about their relationship. Emotion made him uncomfortable. Tears made him impatient. "This is not working," he continued. "You know it and I know it. We have grown apart. We want different things. You want children and domestic life. I want to focus on expanding the company. We are fundamentally incompatible." The word children hit Sienna like a physical blow. If only he knew. If only he could see that what she actually wanted was a partner who remembered her birthday, who asked about her graphic design work, who looked at her like she mattered outside of being Mrs. Harrison Vale. "So what are you proposing?" she asked quietly. "Divorce. Clean. Amicable. My lawyers have drawn up papers that are more than fair. The penthouse is yours for 6 months while you find a new place. The settlement will ensure you are comfortable. We can both move forward." Move forward. As if 6 years of marriage were simply a project to wrap up and file away. Sienna thought about the baby growing inside her. Harrison's child. A tiny person who would need both parents, who deserved to be wanted and cherished. Could she tell him now? Would it change anything, or would he simply see it as another obligation to manage efficiently? "Is there someone else?" she found herself asking. Harrison's jaw tightened. "That is not relevant." Which means yes. Sienna felt something crack inside her chest. The pain was duller than she expected, worn smooth by months of emotional neglect. "Who?" "Natalie Cross. She is a venture capitalist on our new board. We understand each other. We share the same goals and drive." Natalie. Sienna had met her at the company gala last spring. Brilliant. Ambitious. Everything Sienna used to be before Harrison convinced her to put her career on hold to support his vision. "How long?" Harrison looked away. 3 months. 3 months. While Sienna had been planning their anniversary trip. While she had been researching fertility treatments, hoping a baby might bring them closer. While she had been slowly disappearing into the shadow of his success. Sienna stood, her legs steadier than she expected. "Where are the papers?" Harrison pulled a folder from his briefcase, relief flickering across his face. I think this is the right choice for both of us. You can review them with a lawyer if you want. She took the folder without opening it. I will sign them tonight. Surprise registered on his features. You do not want time to think about it? What is there to think about? You have already made your decision. You have already moved on. I am just catching up. Sienna walked toward the office, then paused at the doorway. I hope she makes you happy, Harrison. I hope she fits into your perfect efficient life better than I did. In her office, Sienna opened the folder with shaking hands. The legal language blurred together, but the bottom line was clear. Harrison was giving her a generous settlement, the penthouse for 6 months, and freedom from a marriage that had stopped being a partnership years ago. She thought about calling her sister Vivian, but it was past midnight. Instead, she pulled out the pregnancy test and stared at the 2 pink lines that changed everything. Harrison wanted to move forward unencumbered. He wanted to build his empire with Natalie by his side, someone who would never ask him to choose between family and fortune. Sienna placed a hand on her stomach. This baby deserved better than a father who saw children as obstacles to success. This child deserved love and presence, not financial support wrapped in emotional absence. She signed the divorce papers with steady hands, each signature feeling like reclaiming a piece of herself she had lost. When she finished, she placed them in an envelope and left them on Harrison's desk. Then she booked a doctor's appointment for the following week and began researching single motherhood. If Harrison wanted to move forward, she would too. But her path would be different. Her path would include the tiny life growing inside her, a life she would protect from the coldness that had frozen their marriage. The next morning, Sienna woke to find Harrison already gone. A note on the kitchen counter thanked her for being reasonable. The envelope with the signed papers was gone. Her phone rang. Vivian. How are you holding up? Her sister asked without preamble. I signed the papers last night. Oh, Sienna. I am so sorry. Do not be. Sienna looked out at the city below, feeling strangely calm. I also found out I am pregnant. Silence stretched across the line. Does Harrison know? No. And I am not telling him. He wanted freedom. I am giving it to him. Are you sure that is the right choice? Sienna thought about Harrison's relief when she agreed to the divorce, his excitement about Natalie, his clinical approach to ending their marriage. I am sure. This baby deserves a parent who chooses them first, not someone who sees them as an inconvenience. I will do this alone. You will not be alone, Vivian said firmly. You have me. We will figure this out together. Over the next 3 months, Sienna rebuilt her life piece by piece. She found a charming 2-bedroom apartment in a quieter neighborhood. She reconnected with old design clients and started freelancing again. She attended prenatal appointments alone, taking videos of ultrasounds to watch later. Her daughter. The doctor had confirmed it at 12 weeks. A little girl who was already so loved. Harrison had moved into a sleek downtown loft with Natalie. Sienna saw photos on social media of them at industry events, looking perfect together. It hurt less than she expected. That life already felt like it belonged to someone else. At 4 months pregnant, Sienna stood in her new apartment's nursery, painting the walls a soft lavender. Her phone rang with an unknown number. Hello? Sienna Hart? This is Rebecca Mills, Harrison Vale's executive assistant. I am calling because there has been an incident. Sienna's paintbrush stilled. What kind of incident? Mr. Vale collapsed during a board presentation this morning. He has been taken to Memorial Hospital. You are still listed as his emergency contact in our system. I am his ex-wife. Surely Natalie Cross would be more appropriate. Miss Cross is traveling internationally and unreachable. The hospital is asking for family. Will you come? Sienna looked down at her rounded belly, visible now beneath her paint-splattered shirt. Every instinct screamed to refuse, to let Harrison face this crisis the way she had faced hers alone. "I will be there in 30 minutes, she heard herself say. The hospital was chaos. Reporters had already gathered, drawn by news of a tech billionaire's health crisis. Sienna slipped through a side entrance, her hand protectively over her stomach. A nurse directed her to a private room where Harrison lay connected to monitors, his face pale and drawn. He looked smaller than she remembered, vulnerable in a way that sent an unexpected pang through her chest. "Mrs. Vale," a doctor approached. "I am Dr. Patterson. Your husband suffered an acute anxiety attack that triggered cardiac arrhythmia. He is stable, but this is a serious warning sign." "Ex-wife," Sienna corrected gently. "We divorced 3 months ago." Dr. Patterson checked his chart. "Nevertheless, you are his listed contact. Mr. Vale has been under extreme stress. His body is shutting down. He needs rest and significant life changes." Sienna sat beside the bed, watching Harrison's chest rise and fall. Part of her wanted to leave, to let him wake up alone the way she had faced so many moments alone. But another part, the part that still remembered loving him, could not walk away completely. She would stay until he woke. But after that, Harrison would need to find someone else to hold his hand through the consequences of his choices. Her daughter kicked gently, a flutter of movement that made Sienna smile despite everything. Soon Harrison would wake up and discover that while he had been building his empire, she had been building something far more precious. A life. The unexpected call. Harrison woke to antiseptic smells and the rhythmic beeping of medical equipment. His chest ached with a dull throb that seemed to pulse in time with his heartbeat. As his vision cleared, he saw a figure sitting in the chair beside his hospital bed, silhouetted against the afternoon light filtering through the blinds. Sienna. For a moment, he thought the stress had finally broken his mind. She looked different somehow, wearing a loose cardigan over dark jeans, her chestnut hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. There was a softness to her that he did not remember, though her eyes held a distance that made his chest tighten for reasons that had nothing to do with his heart condition. "You came," he said, his voice rough from the breathing tube they must have removed. "Rebecca called me." Sienna did not move from her position. "You are still listed as my emergency contact apparently." Harrison tried to process this. "How long have I been here?" "About 7 hours. They sedated you after stabilizing your heart rhythm." Sienna glanced at the monitors displaying his vital signs. "The doctor says you had an anxiety attack that triggered a cardiac event. Your body is forcing you to slow down. I have a product launch next week. I cannot afford to slow down. You nearly died today, Harrison." Sienna's tone was matter-of-fact, almost clinical. "At some point, you need to ask yourself what you are really building and who you are building it for." Harrison looked away, unable to meet her eyes. The truth was that everything had started falling apart after she left. Small things at first. Missed calls from important investors because his calendar was a mess. A disastrous charity gala that Natalie had planned but executed poorly. Client relationships souring because there was no one to smooth over his abrasiveness. "Where is Natalie?" he asked, though he suspected he knew. "Rebecca said she is in Singapore at a tech conference. Unreachable until tomorrow." The silence stretched between them, heavy with unspoken words. Harrison watched Sienna fidget with the edge of her cardigan, and something about the gesture seemed familiar yet foreign. "I found something last month," Harrison said suddenly. "I was looking for some old contracts in the storage files at the office, and I found boxes of your work. Notes, strategies, client profiles, pitch decks. Everything was in your handwriting." Sienna's expression did not change. "Every major deal I closed in the past 6 years had your fingerprints on it," Harrison continued, his voice cracking. "You mapped out market analyses, predicted competitor moves, designed presentation strategies. You built half my company, and I never acknowledged it. I took credit for your brilliance and convinced myself it was all my vision. I know, Sienna said quietly. Those 2 words hit harder than any accusation. She had known. She had known he was taking credit for her work and had said nothing, had kept supporting him anyway. Why did you do it? Harrison asked. Why did you give me so much when I gave you so little in return? Because I loved you. Sienna stood, gathering her purse. Because I believed we were partners building something together. I was wrong. Sienna, wait. Harrison tried to sit up, but pain shot through his chest. Please, just a few more minutes. She hesitated, then slowly sat back down. 5 minutes. I know I destroyed us, Harrison said desperately. I know I chose work over you, that I had an affair, that I threw away 6 years like they meant nothing. But seeing all your work, understanding how blind I was, it made me realize what I actually lost. Not just a wife, but my best strategist, my creative partner, the person who made me better at everything. You did not lose a strategist, Harrison. Sienna's voice was sharp. You lost a person who loved you. There is a difference. I know that now. Do you? Because from where I am sitting, you are upset about losing a business asset, not a life partner. That is not fair. Fair? Sienna stood abruptly. You had an affair with Natalie while I was researching fertility treatments. You divorced me so you could pursue your empire without distraction. You made your priorities abundantly clear. Do not pretend this is about love when it is really about losing something useful. I saw you yesterday, Harrison said suddenly. Before the attack. I was leaving a meeting near the medical district, and I saw you coming out of a clinic on 5th Street. You were holding your stomach like something hurt. Sienna froze, her hand moving instinctively to her midsection. Harrison's eyes followed the movement, and for the first time, he noticed the curve beneath her loose cardigan. His breath caught. Are you sick? He whispered. Is something wrong? The question hung between them, loaded with implications neither was ready to address. Sienna turned slowly, her hand still resting protectively on her stomach. The gesture was unmistakable. I am not sick, she said quietly. Harrison stared at the curve of her belly, his mind racing through calculations. The timeline. The divorce 3 months ago. The way she held herself, protective and maternal. How far along, he asked, his voice barely audible. Nearly 5 months now. 5 months. Harrison felt the room spin. That means you were already pregnant when we signed the papers. I found out 3 days before, Sienna confirmed. I was going to tell you at dinner that night. But then you came home and told me about Natalie, about wanting a divorce, about how our marriage was holding you back from your goals. You made it very clear you did not want the domestic life I represented. My child, Harrison said, his hands gripping the hospital sheets. You are carrying my child and you were just going to raise them alone without telling me. What did you expect? Sienna's composure finally cracked, tears streaming down her face. You told me children were an obstacle to your success. You divorced me to be with someone who shared your ambition. Why would I trap you with a responsibility you clearly did not want? I never said I did not want children. You said you wanted to focus on expanding the company. That children would have to wait until you had built something lasting. Sienna wiped her tears angrily. Well, I got tired of waiting. I got tired of being invisible. So yes, I decided to have this baby alone rather than force you to pretend to care. Harrison tried to get out of bed, but the monitors erupted in urgent beeping. A nurse rushed in, pressing him back against the pillows. Mr. Vale, your heart rate is dangerous. You need to remain calm. Please, Harrison begged, looking past the nurse to Sienna. Please do not leave. We need to talk about this. There is nothing to talk about. Sienna backed toward the door. You made your choices 3 months ago. I am making mine now. My daughter will be loved and wanted, even if it is only by me. Daughter. The word hit Harrison like a physical blow. He was having a daughter. Sienna walked out, leaving Harrison calling her name as nurses worked to stabilize his racing heart. In the parking lot, Vivian was waiting in her car. She took one look at Sienna's tear-streaked face and pulled her into a fierce hug. He knows, Sienna said into her sister's shoulder. He saw my stomach and figured it out. What did he say? That I should have told him. That I am keeping his child from him. Sienna pulled back, anger replacing tears. As if he had any right to know after everything he did. Vivian helped her into the car. What are you going to do? What I have been doing. Raise my baby alone. Build my life on my terms. Sienna placed a hand on her belly, feeling her daughter move. This baby deserves a parent who chooses her first, not someone who shows up out of guilt. But as they drove away, Sienna could not shake the image of Harrison's devastated expression when he realized she was pregnant. For just a moment, she had seen something that looked like genuine regret, like a man waking from a nightmare to find everything precious had slipped away. The flowers started arriving the next day. White roses, her favorite, with cards that read simple messages. I am sorry. Please give me a chance. For our daughter. Sienna threw the cards away but kept the flowers. On the third day, a package arrived. Baby clothes, carefully selected, gender-neutral despite Harrison knowing they were having a girl. The note read, I do not know what she will need. I realize I do not know anything about being a father. Please teach me. Vivian found Sienna crying over the tiny outfits. What are you going to do? I do not know, Sienna admitted. Part of me wants to believe he has changed. But I remember every broken promise, every missed anniversary, every time his phone was more important than our conversation. Then make him prove it, Vivian said firmly. Do not make it easy. If Harrison wants to be a father, make him earn it. Make him show up consistently, not with gifts, but with presence. Sienna looked at the baby clothes, imagining her daughter wearing them. Harrison had missed so much already. The first ultrasound where they saw the heartbeat. The first flutter of movement. The joy and terror of early pregnancy. Her phone rang. Harrison's name appeared on the screen. Taking a deep breath, Sienna answered. Thank you for picking up, Harrison said, his voice thick with emotion. I know I have no right to ask anything, but please let me be part of this. Let me know my daughter. Being a father is not about wanting, Harrison. It is about showing up every day, even when it is inconvenient, even when it interferes with board meetings, even when it costs you something. I understand that now. Harrison's words came faster. I am restructuring everything, Sienna. I am stepping down as CEO of Vail Industries. I am moving into an advisory role. I am selling enough shares to reduce my workload by 60%. I am completely rebuilding my life because I finally understand what matters. Words are easy, Harrison. You have always known exactly what to say to close a deal. This is not a deal, Harrison said desperately. This is my life. My family. The only thing that ever truly mattered, and I was too blind to see it until I lost everything. You did lose everything, Sienna said quietly. The question is whether you can earn back the chance to know your daughter. Tell me how, Harrison pleaded. Tell me what I need to do. Sienna looked down at her stomach, feeling her daughter kick as if responding to her father's voice. She thought about raising this child alone, about the long nights and hard decisions ahead. She also thought about the man Harrison used to be, before success consumed him. The man who had laughed at her terrible jokes, who had believed in her design talent, who had once looked at her like she was his entire world. Could that man still exist underneath the CEO armor? Come to my next prenatal appointment, Sienna said. Friday at 2 in the afternoon. Do not send flowers or gifts. Just show up. Prove you can put my schedule before yours. I will be there, Harrison promised. What else? That is all for now. One appointment, Harrison. Prove you can do that before we discuss anything else. She hung up before he could respond, her heart pounding. Vivian looked at her questioningly. I am giving him one chance, Sienna said. One appointment. If he shows up, we will see. If he does not, I will know everything I need to know. Friday arrived with unexpected snow, the first of the season. Sienna waited in the doctor's office lobby, watching the clock tick past 2. 2:05. 2:10. He was not coming. She stood to check in for her appointment alone when the elevator doors opened. Harrison stepped out, snow dusting his hair and shoulders, his tie askew and breathing hard like he had been running. I am sorry I am late, he gasped. There was an accident on the bridge. I parked 6 blocks away and ran. Sienna stared at him. Harrison Vale, who had never run anywhere except on a treadmill, had sprinted through the snow to make her appointment. The nurse called her name. Are you coming? Sienna asked. Harrison's face transformed with relief and wonder. Yes. If you will let me. They sat side by side as the ultrasound technician prepared the equipment. When the image appeared on screen, showing their daughter's profile, Harrison made a sound that was half laugh, half sob. She is real, he whispered. Look at her. The technician smiled. Would you like to know the measurements? For the next 20 minutes, Harrison asked questions. About fetal development, nutrition, what Sienna should avoid. He took notes on his phone, his focus complete and unwavering. As they left the clinic, Harrison walked beside Sienna carefully, as if she might break. Thank you, he said quietly. Thank you for letting me see her. One appointment does not fix everything, Sienna said. But it is a start. I will prove myself, Sienna. Harrison looked at her with an intensity that reminded her of the man she had fallen in love with. Whatever it takes, however long it takes. I will prove I can be the father she deserves and the partner you needed me to be. Sienna placed a hand on her belly, feeling their daughter move between them. We will see, she said softly. We will see. The road to redemption. The weeks following that first appointment established a pattern. Harrison showed up for every prenatal class, every doctor visit, every commitment he made. He sat through childbirth education with earnest attention, practiced breathing techniques without complaint, and asked questions that revealed how desperately he wanted to get this right. Sienna watched his transformation with cautious hope. He had started therapy, sharing insights about his workaholic tendencies and fear of vulnerability. He talked about his father, a man who had measured worth in achievements and taught Harrison that emotions were weaknesses to be conquered. I spent my whole life proving I was successful enough to matter, Harrison told her one evening after a prenatal class. I built Vale Industries to show my father I was not a failure. But I failed at the only thing that actually matters. I failed you. They were sitting in Sienna's car, snow falling gently outside. 6 months pregnant now, Sienna felt their daughter moving constantly, as if she were dancing to music only she could hear. You are trying now, Sienna said carefully. That counts for something. Is it enough? Harrison asked. Will it ever be enough to make up for what I did? I do not know yet. Sienna placed his hand on her belly, and they both felt their daughter kick. But you are here. That is more than I expected. Vivian remained skeptical. She is trying, she told Sienna over coffee one Saturday morning. But how long will it last? What happens when the novelty wears off and work starts calling again? I guess we will find out, Sienna said, stirring honey into her tea. The answer came sooner than expected. Sienna was grocery shopping on a Tuesday afternoon when the pain hit. Sharp and sudden, radiating from her abdomen and making the world tilt sideways. She managed to grab her phone and call Vivian before her legs gave out. She woke in the hospital to find both Vivian and Harrison beside her bed. Harrison looked like he had aged a decade, his face haggard and eyes red-rimmed. "What happened?" Sienna whispered, her hand immediately going to her stomach. "The baby is fine," Vivian assured her quickly. "You had a severe blood pressure spike. They are monitoring you both closely." "I was in a board meeting," Harrison said hoarsely. "Vivian called and I left immediately. Told them to handle the merger talks without me." Sienna looked at him, really looked, and saw genuine terror still lingering in his expression. The merger talks. She knew how important they were, how much Vail Industries stood to gain. "You left a billion-dollar merger negotiation?" Harrison took her hand carefully. "You could have died, Sienna. Our daughter could have been in danger. Nothing else matters. Nothing." Over the next 48 hours, Harrison never left her side. He slept in the uncomfortable hospital recliner, declined calls from his office, and focused entirely on Sienna and their daughter's well-being. He read pregnancy books, asked nurses endless questions, and monitored Sienna's blood pressure readings like his life depended on them. On the second night, while Sienna drifted in and out of medicated sleep, she heard him talking softly. Opening her eyes, she saw Harrison with his hand on her belly, speaking to their daughter through the hospital blanket. "I am your daddy," he was saying. "I know I have not been very good at this so far. I was not there for your first ultrasound or when you first started moving. But I am here now, and I promise I will never leave. Your mom is the strongest, most amazing person I have ever known. You are so lucky to have her. I am the lucky one if you both let me stay." Sienna felt tears slip down her cheeks. Harrison looked up, noticing she was awake. "I meant every word," he said. "I know you are scared to trust me again. I am scared too. Scared I will mess this up, scared I will disappoint you both. But I would rather try and fail than never try at all." "Why now?" Sienna asked. "Why did it take losing everything for you to understand what mattered?" Harrison was quiet for a long moment. "Because I was terrified," he finally said. "Terrified of being vulnerable, of needing someone, of building a life that could hurt me if I lost it. Work was safe. Success was measurable. I could control it. And now? Now I understand that the things worth having are the things that scare us most." Harrison moved to sit on the edge of her bed. "You scare me, Sienna. The depth of what I feel for you terrifies me. But running from that fear cost me everything. I would rather face it than lose you again. I do not know if I can love you the way I used to," Sienna admitted. "You hurt me so deeply. That version of me who believed in us, who trusted completely, she is gone." "I know." Harrison brought her hand to his lips. "And I will spend the rest of my life earning back whatever trust you are willing to give. Even if you never love me again, I will still be the best father I can be. I will still respect you and support you and prove through action that I have changed." Their daughter kicked hard, as if offering her opinion on the conversation. Harrison's eyes widened with wonder. "She is strong," he said softly. "She has to be," Sienna replied. "She has complicated parents." The doctor released Sienna 3 days later with strict instructions about rest and stress management. Harrison hired a nurse to check on her daily and personally ensured her apartment was stocked with healthy food and anything she might need. "He is really stepping up," Vivian admitted reluctantly. "I did not think he had it in him." "Neither did I," Sienna said, watching from her window as Harrison carried groceries up to her apartment for the third time that week. The following months passed in a blur of preparation. Harrison took time off work to attend every appointment and class. He learned about infant care with the same intensity he once applied to business strategies. He assembled baby furniture, read parenting books, and asked Sienna endless questions about their daughter. He also continued therapy, working through the issues that had driven him to prioritize success over relationships. Sienna saw him changing, not in dramatic gestures, but in small consistent actions that revealed a genuine transformation. When Sienna went into labor 2 weeks early, Harrison was at her apartment helping install blackout curtains in the nursery. Her water broke while he was explaining his color-coded organization system for baby supplies. "Okay," he said, taking a deep breath. "We practiced this. Bag is by the door. Car seat is installed. Hospital is 12 minutes away." "Harrison," Sienna gasped through the first contraction. "Breathe." "Right. Breathing." He took her hand. "We have got this." The labor lasted 18 hours. Long, exhausting, and more painful than Sienna had imagined. Through it all, Harrison stayed beside her. He held her hand through contractions, breathed with her through the pain, and advocated with nurses when Sienna was too tired to speak. "You are doing amazing," he kept saying. "You are so strong. Just a little longer." When their daughter finally arrived, tiny and perfect with a cap of dark hair, Harrison cried openly. The nurse placed the baby on Sienna's chest, and both parents stared at their daughter in absolute wonder. "She is perfect," Harrison whispered. "Sienna, she is absolutely perfect." "Hello, Lily," Sienna said softly, naming their daughter after the flowers Harrison had sent that first week. "Welcome to the world, sweetheart." Harrison placed his hand gently on Lily's back, his fingers looking enormous against her tiny frame. "I am your dad," he said, his voice breaking. "I promise to love you and protect you and be there for every moment of your life." Over the next few days, Sienna watched Harrison transform into a father. He learned to change diapers despite his initial clumsiness. He walked the hospital corridors at 3 in the morning when Lily refused to sleep. He stared at his daughter with such complete devotion that Sienna felt her carefully guarded heart begin to soften. "You are good at this," she told him one night as he rocked Lily. "I am terrified," Harrison admitted. "She is so small. What if I do something wrong?" "You will do things wrong," Sienna said honestly. "All parents do. But you will also figure it out. You will learn and love her through all of it." Harrison looked at her over Lily's tiny head. "I want to be there for all of it, Sienna. Not just scheduled visits. I want to be a real family." "We are a family," Sienna said carefully. "Just maybe not the traditional kind yet." "Yet." Harrison seized on the word. "Does that mean there is hope for us?" From her playpen, Lily clapped her hands, as if celebrating the promise of a family finally whole. They were not the people who had married young and ambitious. They were better. Tested. Proven. Ready to build something lasting not despite their broken past, but because of the lessons it taught them. Harrison had learned that empires crumble, but love built on consistent action endures. Sienna had learned that second chances are possible when both people commit to real change. Together, they were learning that the greatest success is measured not in money or power, but in moments shared, in trust rebuilt, in a tiny girl who would grow up knowing both her parents chose her first, every single time. The snow continued falling outside, but inside their home, warmth filled every corner. A family reborn. A love rekindled. A future built on the promise that this time, they would get it right. From her playpen, Lily clapped her hands, as if celebrating the promise of a family finally whole. They were not the people who had married young and ambitious. They were better. Tested. Proven. Ready to build something lasting not despite their broken past, but because of the lessons it taught them. Harrison had learned that empires crumble, but love built on consistent action endures. Sienna had learned that second chances are possible when both people commit to real change. Together, they were learning that the greatest success is measured not in money or power, but in moments shared, in trust rebuilt, in a tiny girl who would grow up knowing both her parents chose her first, every single time. The snow continued falling outside, but inside their home, warmth filled every corner. A family reborn. A love rekindled. A future built on the promise that this time, they would get it right.